Okay, so what I want to look at, I want to move away from what we were looking at yesterday and look at the beginning of the Shlishli Aliyah, which is well-known idea, the idea of Pesach Sheni. Um, so a lot of people speak about Pesach Sheni as being this idea of second chances, meaning that you missed the first chance and now you can have this. Now there's the opportunity. Hashem gives us opportunity for second chances if we wanted to take it. And I just like to look at it in a little bit of a different way this morning. So let's look in the Psukim and we'll see what the Psukim say. So the Psukim starts at the beginning of Perek Tet, and where Bnei Israel Vayomer Adonai Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'shana shenit letzet mitzrayim b'chodesh harishon. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says to Moshe on as they come into the month of Nisan, Vayesu Bnei Israel Pesach b'ma'adoi. He tells them they must make the Korban Pesach. So they make they in exactly the way that they need to do the Korban Pesach, and it says that they made the Korban Pesach in exactly the way they were supposed to, as it says, Asher tzivah Adonai et Moshe kan yasu Bnei Israel. That they did exactly as they were meant to do. And we understand that that's there's nothing new in that. They were told to do it. The narrative tells us, but the reason for that narrative of telling us this is because of the next pasuk. Where the next pasuk says, "Vayehi anashim asher yutmeim lenefesh adam." There were people who were tamei lenefesh adam, which means that they were tumah because they'd been in contact with the corpse. And they couldn't bring the Korban Pesach on that day of the 14th of Nisan because they were tamei at that time. And part of the issue with the Korban Pesach is that it's not like any of the other korbanot that you bring on a chag. We've got this concept of chagiga, and the concept of the chagiga is that you can have tashlumin. Tashlumin means that even though you might bring it on the day of the chag when you're meant to, you still got 7 days to do it. Which is why, for example, during the month of Sivan, we don't say tachnun until the 13th of Sivan, because you've got the time for Tashlumin, which is 7 days after the Chag. So you start on the 6th and you've got 7 till the 13th, and so therefore we don't say Tachnun because there's still a time, according to many opinions, still for the Korban to be brought, and therefore you don't say that. But we don't have that for the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach either is brought on the night, the eve of the night of Pesach, or it's not brought at all. So they come before Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayikrevu lifnei Moshe, v'lifnei Aaron, Bayomahu, and they came before Moshe and before Aaron, Bayomahu, on that day. Which we have to understand that pasuk. We will get there. Vayomer anashim ha'hema, and the people said a love to him. To who are they saying? They came before Moshe and Aaron, and then it says that they spoke to him. A love. Anachnu tmeim lenefesh adam lama nigra levilti ikrivet korban adonai b'ma'adeh b'shech bnei Israel. We are tamei. So why is it bad? Why is it nigra levilti? Why is it so bad for us that we can't bring the korban Hashem b'ma'adoi, this special korban, with betoch bnei Israel, within the midst of bnei Israel? Vayomer aleim Moshe imdu eshma'a ma yitzveh Adonai lachem. So let's go check it out. Moshe Rabbeinu says, let's go see what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say on this. Let's try and understand what really is happening here, because there is a lot of movement. And let's first see. So the Torah says, Vayehi anashim. Now the word Vayehi is generally a word that implies a single. It doesn't imply many people. It's clear that there were individuals. It wasn't a group of people that were, like a whole mass of people. There were specific individuals that had specific jobs for a specific reason, and that's the Gemara that has a machlokes. And the Gemara says, who are these people that were tamei nefesh? Why would a person, knowing that big things are happening? Remember, this is the second year of them being in the desert. So they know about the second year from the coming out of the desert. They know that there's this thing that they did when they were in Mitzrayim, called the Korban Pesach. So why would they be tamei? We know that they're not allowed to be tamei. So why would they be tamei? So the Gemara tells us that the reason is because they were either one of two people. Either they were the people that were carrying the Aron of Yosef, the coffin of Yosef, and if they were tamei because they were in contact with his corpse, or they were the children of Aaron, who were told to remove the bodies of Nadav and Avihu. So therefore, it's wonderful, but they've come into contact with dead not because they wanted to, but because they were forced to. They were instructed to, and so therefore, it's not fair that because they were instructed to do something, that they're now precluded from being involved in this such a fundamental concept of the Korban Pesach. But Rashi picks up on something important. Rashi picks up on Vayikravu lifnei Moshe v'lifnei Aaron. They came before Moshe and Aaron on that day. So Rashi says, what does it mean? When did they come to him? They came when they were sitting in the Beis HaMidrash. It's impossible to say that they came one after the other. In other words, Moshe and Aaron are sitting and learning chavrusa, or learning together, and these people come and they ask them together. You can't say that they came to ask Moshe and then they came to ask Aaron. Why? It says Moshe lo Aaron minayin. Says because Moshe didn't know the law, where would Aaron have known it? So it doesn't make sense to say that they would come first to Moshe and then to Aaron because one of them didn't know the answer. But I think what's happening in this Rashi is something so much bigger. Is that if we look at our calendar as our calendar exists today, we've got Pesach, which happens in the month of Nisan. Then we've got from the 21st of Nisan, which is the end of Pesach, all the way through to the 6th of Sivan. There's actually nothing that happens. So why are Moshe and Aaron sitting in the Beis Midrash? Moshe and Aaron are sitting in the Beis Midrash because at this point in time, there's they've done everything they need to do. They're ready for Pesach. Everything's been done, and so therefore they can sit and they can actually use their time constructively, not to engage with people and to solve problems, but just to learn, just to connect in their own personal time. And that's where the people come in, and for us, it's important to understand that this period of time between Pesach and Shavuot is that time for us to try and really engage in the Beis Midrash, in a space of personal growth, not always worrying about what everybody else needs from us, but also for us to understand what we need from ourselves. And I think that might be a reason why Rashi points out they're sitting in the Beis Midrash. And they come into them, they say to them, Anachnu tmeim lenefesh, lama nigara, why is it so bad? Why is it's not fair? So Rashi tells the story, and he says, Amar lahem, ein kadoshim krevim b'tumah. So he says to them, the reason why you can't come is because you can't come to because you're tameh. So Amrulot, they say to Moshe Rabbeinu, Yizarei kadam aleinu b'choanim to'irim v'yachal basar l'to'irim. He says, well, then help us, purify us, sprinkle the blood on us so that we can become tahor. Amar lahem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, hold on a second, stop. Imdu ve'eshma'a. Stand and listen. As what we're going to go ask Hashem. And Rashi tells us, explains it in an image. Katalmid hamuftach lishmoa mipi rabbo. This is like a student, a pupil, hamuftach lishmoa mipi rabbo, who knows for sure that he will get the answer from his teacher. Ashrei, so the Rashi goes on this whole flowery thing. Ashrei yalut isha shekach muftach. How amazing is this for this person who's born of a woman, shekach muftach, that this is what he is so certain of. Now that concept of yalut isha is a concept of where the Gemara speaks about the Malachim using this in a denigrating way to Moshe Rabbeinu, that he's born of a woman, meaning that he's born of flesh and blood, and how can he have such a close relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? But here Rashi brings and says it's an amazing thing. That whenever he wants to, he can go and ask Hashem. Says this parsha of the parsha of what's going to become Pesach Sheni is appropriate that it's spoken through Moshe, right? It would have been like all the entire Torah. Ela what? Shezachu elu shete'amar al yedehem shemagalgalin schus al yedei zakai. Says, but this pasuk, this Torah is told over not by Moshe Rabbeinu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to him and tells him to tell the mitzvah, but rather these people come to Moshe Rabbeinu and ask the question that they want to be able to do the mitzvah, and therefore the narrative shows that it's actually in their schut that this portion of the Torah is told, not Moshe Rabbeinu himself. Why? Because of what they wanted. So what is it that they really wanted? What is it that these people come along that they are so desirous of doing this mitzvah? And why is it? Why is it so? So as I said, people speak about second chances, but second chances only exist, in my opinion, the way I understand it. A second chance only exists if you were able to do it the first time, but you missed that opportunity. Because they are tamei lenefesh, because they are impure, they don't even have the opportunity to do it the first time. In actual fact, they're patur. They're completely exempt from doing that mitzvah because it's not their fault. It's not that they went out and looked for dead people to become tamei. What they did is they were doing a mitzvah, and oisek mitzvah patur min mitzvah. If you're involved in one mitzvah and that mitzvah impinges on your ability to do another mitzvah, you don't have to do that other mitzvah. If that's the case, so they don't have to do the mitzvah. So why are they so wanting to do this mitzvah of Korban Pesach? You don't hear them wanting to do any other mitzvah. And I think the answer is in those three words in verse number 7, where it says, "Betoch b'nei Yisrael," that the thing about the Korban Pesach and what makes it different from any other Korban is that it's the one thing that identifies us as Am Yisrael on a huge collective. That we keep Torah, we keep mitzvot, we do the things that we have to do, we keep Shabbos, whatever the case is. But there's one thing, and that's the Korban Pesach. That's the mitzvah asa. It's a positive mitzvah together with Brit Milah, right? That these are these mitzvot that if you don't do them, then there's karet. Then there's spiritual excision from the Jewish people. Why? Because those are the things that represent our connection to Am Yisrael, to the collective of the Jewish people. And these people who are in the desert, that they, even though they're potter, they didn't have to do it. They want to do it. Why? Because they want to be counted amongst Betoch B'nai Yisrael. And it's on that that Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, hold on a second. Imdu, stand in the position that you're in. Stand in the space that you're in, that you want to be part of the Jewish people. The Eshma, and let me go in here. What is this? What is it that Hashem wants you to do? He says, because it's all very nice that we understand that you want to connect. But if you remember, we spoke about the children of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, who died. Why? Because they brought strange fire. They brought this fire that they wanted to express their connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in their way, not in the way that Hashem wanted them to do. And so Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, hold on a second, you stand. Don't do anything. Don't think that we can express our Yiddishkeit, our connection to Hashem the way we want, but rather what we have to do is here. What is Hashem going to command us? So at the end of the day, our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our connection to Am Yisrael, our connection to Torah, our connection to Eretz Yisrael, all of it has to be Hashem Lachem, has to be through the process of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us, and not what we think is the way that we should be connecting. Let's stop there. Have a beautiful day, and please God will continue.